Hi, my name is Mike Anderson from Collision Advice. I recently had the honor and the pleasure of sitting down with some of my friends at CCC. And while sitting down with them, they asked me if I had any advice or any suggestions that maybe I could provide to shops that would help them to improve their parts procurement best practices. Of course, I always have a little bit of advice to give someone, or at least a lot of opinions, so we sat down and we developed a video series that we hope that will help you to improve your shop's parts processes. You know, quite often I hear from managers, general managers, and even production managers about how stressed they are and how they feel the weight of the world on their shoulders. What's this weight come from? It's because they're going around trying to solve everybody's problems. To be quite honest with you, it doesn't have to be this way. Too often, we as managers make the mistake of thinking that we have to take on everybody's problems and fix them for our team, instead of trying to solve the problems with our team. You know, a great book that I read once was called The 1 Minute Manager Meets the Monkey by Ken Blanchard. And it talks about this guy going through the office, and somebody has a problem, they say, hey, can you help me? He's like, sure, and he takes the monkey on their back, and eventually he's weighted down. A great book. One of the things we need to understand is that our job as a manager is we don't have to have all the answers to every problem. What we need to have is the ability to facilitate and to draw from all the experiences of all of our staff to become problem solvers. In order for us to be successful, we need to create a culture of continuous improvement and problem solving. So in today's session, we're actually going to share with you two great problem solving methods. The first of which is called DMAIC. DMAIC stands for Define, Measure, Analyze, Improve, and Control. It's a Six Sigma methodology for problem solving. The second method we're going to discuss later on is called root cause analysis, which is where we ask ourselves why 5 times to get to the root cause of what's causing this problem. So let's start with first define, measure, analyze, improve, and control, which is called as DMAIC. First of all, define the problem that you might encounter or the problem that you want to solve. Maybe in this case, I'm going to define my problem that my parts return ratio is 15%. And I really want it to be less than 4%, which is kind of where you should be, your benchmark should be. So define the problem, my parts return ratio is 15%. Now measure. Sometimes measuring means going out in the shop, old-fashioned, just kind of watching and seeing how things happen. But in this case, we could actually utilize our management system to gather data, which is measuring, to figure out why we're returning parts. Now, one of the things that I see is quite often shops have a management system that will allow them to gather the reasons for whether they have to return parts, or maybe they missed their target delivery dates, or maybe even why they have supplements. But what they do is they fail to utilize these features. So what I would like to encourage you to do is go back to your management system, no matter what management system it is, and find out if there's a way that you can record the reasons for why you return parts. Now make sure these reasons are very specific. Too often we'll use a reason like wrong part. Well, why was it wrong? Did I order it wrong? Did the vendor send it wrong? Sometimes we'll put in there didn't need. Well, why didn't we need it? Do we not need it because we ordered something we didn't need, or do we not need it because it came with another part? So the attention is really in the details. So what we want to do is, again, define the problem, parts return ratio is too high, measure. So what I'm going to do is I'm now going to gather data from my management system that says, here's all of the reasons why I return parts. Now I need to analyze the data. Now I don't want to analyze the data by myself. I want to bring my team in together, and we're all going to analyze the data. Well, you say, well, Mike, who would be on that team? Well, obviously if you have 100 employees, you're not going to bring everybody in at one time. A lot of shops will have what they call a continuous improvement team. Maybe they'll have one person from each department, one person from parts, one person from the body department, the paint department, and so on and so on. We bring them in together, and we actually take and we analyze the reasons why we return parts. So upon analyzing all this data that we got from our management system, it says, okay, I had to return this part because I didn't need it. So maybe I had to return 13 parts last month that I didn't need. All right. Now maybe I returned 12 parts because the vendor sent them wrong. Maybe I returned 10 parts that were damaged. Bottom line is, focus on the problem that caused you the most headache. So whatever was the biggest reason I had to return parts, focus on that problem first. Another key thing I want to point out is make sure you focus on the things you have control over. Too often people come to me and say, well, Mike, my return ratio is high because I have to return all these used parts or aftermarket because they didn't fit. Well, you know what? You may not have control over that. So let's focus on the ones, first of all, that we have control over, which is things like ordering the wrong part, or maybe we didn't need the part, or maybe we didn't mirror match and it was damaged. Let's focus on those types of things. So once we analyzed all these reasons for part returns with our continuous improvement team, we come up with some improvement strategies. And maybe what we do is we find out that one of the estimators, very specific, is ordering parts that he doesn't need because he's ordering it carte blanche from an insurance estimate. Well, what we need to do is develop an improvement strategy that says only order the things you know you need and make sure that you don't order things if you don't know what it needs. Go out and look at the vehicle, etc. But we come up with some kind of strategy that says, here's what we're going to do differently. Remember, your job as a manager is to facilitate your team's discussions to come up with a new strategy to improve the process, something we'll do differently. Now, you also notice that I use the word improve, not change. Too often we say, hey, we're going to change things. People view change as a negative. They view change as, what's this going to cost me? Is it going to cost me money? Am I going to have to work more hours, take on more duties? I don't like to use the word change. I like to use the word improvement. We're going to improve things, which kind of the connotation of that is we're going to make things better, right? Okay, so now once we come up with an improvement strategy, we have what's called the last part of DMAIC, which is C for control. What are the controls or the gauges that I'm going to monitor to determine if my improvements actually had a positive impact versus a negative impact? So in this case, maybe we tell the estimator, look, we only want you to order parts, only order what you know, what you need, make sure you look at photos, whatever the case may be, look at the vehicle a little better. Now we monitor what that estimator's parts return ratio is to see if there's actually improvement based on the improvements that we made into the system or the process. Keep in mind, one of the things I quite often tell people is we need to attack the process, not the person. I firmly believe that everybody that works for you, you need to trust them, and you have to believe they want to do a good job. If you've got somebody that's working for you that you don't trust or you think doesn't want to do a good job, quite honestly, you probably need to fire them. Because if we believe we can trust everybody and they want to do a good job, then we can know we have a process problem, not a people problem. And it's much easier to fix processes versus people. So now we've gone through DMAIC, which again defined our problem, just as a summary. We defined the problem, my parts return ratio is too high. Measure, I went to my management system, I gathered data as to all the reasons why we return parts. Analyze the data. I brought in my continuous improvement team, and when I brought my continuous improvement team in, we analyzed all the data, came up with some solutions that we thought might help to positively impact that. We then implemented those new strategies, and then what we do is we monitor the controls, we monitor our parts return ratios to see if it actually went down from 15% down to 11%. Now, keep in mind, one of the sayings is, don't let best be the enemy of better. Too often we're trying to go from 15% parts return ratio down to 0. That may not be realistic. If I'm looking for continuous improvement, again, the key here is continuous improvement. I want to go from 15% down to 14%, 13, 12, 10, continuous improvement, day in, day out. Now, another second method for problem solving is called root cause analysis. And that's where you ask yourself why 5 times to get to the root cause of a problem. Too often, we'll look at the surface on what the surface says about what the problem is, and we go and attack that certain situation when we may not really have all of the information we need. Let me give you an example. The vehicle did not get delivered the day it's supposed to. Well, I find out the reason the vehicle didn't get delivered the day it was supposed to was because I needed a belt molding clip. So what we need to do is ask ourselves, why did the vehicle not get delivered the day it was supposed to? Because we needed a belt molding clip. Why did we need a belt molding clip? Because the technician didn't discover it during 100% teardown. Why didn't the technician discover it during 100% teardown? Because they didn't do 100% teardown. Why didn't they do 100% teardown? Because they didn't have enough time. Why didn't they have enough time? Because we had 3 jobs to tear apart all at the same time. The root cause was not the technician not doing 100% teardown. The root cause was a scheduling issue, that we took too many cars in, that we didn't allow ourselves enough time to do 100% teardown. So rather than jump into conclusions that the technician's doing a poor job, we need to look at the root cause as to why that technician did a poor job. Again, root cause analysis, ask yourself what for why 5 times, and you will generally get to the root cause of the problem by the time of the 5th why, sometimes even sooner. Now, a couple of things I want to kind of also mention to you is, remember, junk in, junk out. I often have been, you've heard me say, if you've been in one of my seminars, that if you don't measure it, you can't manage it. If you don't measure it, that means we can't manage it. So what are we talking about measuring? Well, measuring, we have to have accurate data. One of the things I see, I go in a lot of people's management systems, and I'll go and I'll print a report out when I'm consulting there as to why they returned all the parts they returned. And what I find out is they've got very generic reasons in there. Return part because it was wrong. Return part didn't need. Those reasons aren't very good for problem solving, so the attention is in the details. Same thing with missed delivery dates. They'll just put in there, needed additional part. Well, why did we need additional part? Because we didn't order it, or because the insurance wouldn't approve it? So bottom line is the attention is in the details. In order to have good data to actually take and problem solve either through DMAIC or root cause analysis, it's got to be detailed. Now, one of the other things I also see is that some shops actually have detailed reasons, but the employees just neglect to choose the reason why they return the part. Some management systems, you can set it up where it's mandatory, that it automatically forces them to do that. I highly encourage you to use that feature if it's available in your management system. Remember, don't let best be the enemy of better. We're looking for continuous improvement. We look forward to talking to you next time. Thanks for joining us today. I would like to extend my gratitude and appreciation to CCC for allowing me to share my passion and enthusiasm with you. We're hoping you picked up some things that might help to improve your business, but also improve your quality of life. If you'd like more information about any ways that we can assist you, please feel free to contact me or my team at www.collisionadvice.com or contact CCC at their website. Thanks and have a great day.